What makes a Pokemon rare in PokeMMO? There's the obvious answers, ribbons, particles, and shinies, but what about just regular Pokemon? Can those be rare? Yes, if they're old. Allow me to elaborate. In order to understand and appreciate how rare old Pokemon are, we need to understand a bit of history behind this game. PokeMMO was released in August of 2012, and upon its release only had one region, the Kanto region. The next region, Hoenn, wasn't released until January of 2015. We may take things for granted now, being able to traverse Johto, Unova, Hoenn, and Sinnoh, but from 2012 to 2014, Kanto was all the players had. Because of this, only certain Pokemon were in the game. The original 150, and some extra that were added to the Sevi Islands to tease the release of the new regions. So now that we know the history behind the regions of PokeMMO and which Pokemon existed back then, it's time to answer the question: how rare are old Pokemon in PokeMMO, and how can you determine which are rarer than others? To do so, I went for the liberty of sifting through the GTL to analyze how many of these Pokemon remain. I'm only using the catch years 2012, 2013, 2014, and January of 2015 in this data, since those were the only periods of time when the game was exclusively Kanto. This data is meant to help you identify which of the old Pokemon are rarer than others to help you price them out in their respective catch year markets. A 2012 is more than likely going to be worth more than a 2014, but that really just depends on how many of each exist. For example, a 2012 Goldeen would be worth less than a 2014 Absol because there are no Absols from 2012 to 2015 on the market, but there are 8 Goldeens from that same period of time on the market. I made a tier list so we can visually analyze how rare all of the old Pokemon are. The tier list only shows the start of the Evo line, but I included every mon in their respective Evo lines when searching the GTL. Alrighty guys, so just for context, I've been looking at the 2012, 2013, and 2014 market for, I want to say, like a month or two now, and I've kind of just been like, you know, keeping an eye on it, seeing what's going on with it, and, you know, just looking out for some of these mons, because I'm a collector myself. And I've been able to make this tier list for you just to kind of like give you a reference point to what is rare and what isn't rare and what, you know, is really rare. So when you do, you know, come in contact with like an old Pokemon, maybe you get a good deal or a bulk buy and you want to like figure out how do I price this, you know, tier list would visually be able to probably help you out. At the very top of the tier list is the rarest Giga rares. These are essentially, I've only seen a few of them. They're, you know, very rare to come by. They're hard to come by. There's not a lot of them. It's not in any specific order. So it's not like a typical tier list where the left most is like the most important or the most rarest, and then the right is, you know, the least rarest. It's kind of just in its own respective tier. To start off on the left, we have Shuckle. Shuckle is really rare because you were only able to get an altering cave by rock smashing, and they removed that feature sometime, I want to say in like 2015. I'm not exactly sure when, but essentially you would go into an altering cave and smash the rocks in there, and then you would be able to encounter a Shuckle. So not only would you have had to complete the game, go in altering cave, but you would have also had to been smashing rocks in there and then catching the Shuckles in there. Like, this is probably one of the rarest altering cave mon besides Absol. I have seen I've seen 4 Shuckles ever so far, and I own one of them, and I've never seen an Absol from Altering Cave back then. Never, not once. So just for context, I'm pretty sure Absol is rarer than Shuckle, but Shuckle is definitely like one of the most rarest in Altering Cave. You'll notice this is going to be a trend. Anything that was in Altering Cave is going to be one of like the quote-unquote Giga rares, the rarest of the rares, and then anything on the Sevi Islands typically are going to be like pretty freaking rare, like because you would have had to complete the game. You got to think like who back then completed the game, unlocked the Sevi Islands, and then like collected the Pokemon from this, you know what I mean? Like that's why these are rarer than like, you know, like a random Krabby or something. Next up, we got Sableye, Absol. Those are just Altering Cave mon. You know, those are just rare because they were caught in Altering Cave, like I said. There's Unknown there. I've never seen a 2012 Unknown, but I have seen a 2013 and a 2014. Those are just rare because who caught those back then, you know what I mean? I would say they're relatively on the same level as like the Shuckle. Probably more rare than most of the Altering Cave mon, maybe not Absol, but, you know, definitely up there. Teddiursa and the Bagon line are, you know, obviously Altering Cave mon as well. Teddiursa, Absol, Snubbull, Poochyena, Pineco, Slackoff, Apom, Mareep, Stantler, Mawile, Circus, Shuppet, Aeron or Aggron or however you say that mon's name, Duskull, Zigzagoon. These are all Altering Cave mon. They were all able to found back then in Altering Cave, and they're pretty damn rare. They're pretty hard to come by. For reasons that I said before. Mantine is pretty rare as well. You would have had to go onto where the trainer tower is, I believe on Island 7, and then you would have had to catch a Mantine there, so those are pretty rare. I've never seen one from 2012, but I think I've seen a 2014 once. Skarmory's pretty damn rare too. You'd have to go to Savault Canyon to catch that back in the day. I've only ever seen one of those and I have it. Lunatone is an interesting case. It's not in the Kanto decks, and I sniped 2 of them off the GTL for like 15k, which was like insane steal because I've never seen another Lunatone before. And I don't know where this originated from or where it came from, because like it's not in the Kanto decks. I don't think it was an event. It had to have been, but like the two that I have were caught in August, and you'd think it would be like a Lunar New Year event or like a Halloween event or something. I don't know, but I put that up in the rarest Giga Rares because I'm not even sure where they came from. I just have them. I put the Slugma line just because I've never seen one. I've never seen a Mag Cargo. I've never seen that at all. You know, maybe there's some collector that has a bunch of them and they're not actually a rarest Giga Rare, but from what I can tell after like a month or two of just kind of sifting the market and trying to invest, I've never seen one personally. Same thing with Clefable and Clefairy. Those are pretty damn rare. I haven't seen many of those at all, if any. I've never seen a Kangaskhan or a Porygon or a Magmar before at all. Not even once. Those have got to be pretty rare. I would assume the Magmar isn't as rare as the other two, just because the Kangaskhan, you would have had to catch it in the Safari Zone and the catch rate is already so bad. And the Porygon, like, you would have obviously had the trade from the game card. I've never even seen one from like 2012, 2013, 2014. Next up is Volbeat and Illuminize. I have only seen one of each of those, and that was in a box of somebody that I was buying from, and they didn't end up selling it to me because I explained to them how rare they actually were because I've never seen them. I don't even know, like same thing with the Lunatones, I don't know where you would have gotten these because there's no catch location in Kanto, so these are just rare as fuck, and like I don't know where they came from. Moving on down to the next tab, we have the Giga Rares. These are essentially, they're still, you know, respectively very rare. I have seen a few of them, which is why I'm putting them below rarest Giga Rares. That's kind of how I'm organizing this. If I've never seen them, they're at the very top. If I've seen a few of them, and you know, a handful of them, I put them at Giga Rare. Remoraid, the Octillery line, I personally have 2 of them. So I know that there's some out there, but they don't get listed ever. Feebas, I put in Giga Rare. I did see an Epoch video where he collected them and he had like 8 of them, but obviously he got banned, so those got wiped out of the game. So a lot of them got just wiped out of existence from that to begin with. I have one that I sniped off the GTL, and I've seen another one up on for a 2012. So I know that they're out there. You know, they're not super uncommon, but they're definitely still pretty rare. Fanfi, I've never seen listed on, you know, the Fanfi line. I've never seen listed on the GTL, but I have seen one in a box that I was gonna buy. Beautifly, it's kind of the same story with the Lunatone and the Illuminize. I don't know where they would have caught this in Kanto, but I do have one myself. I think I have 2 actually from 2013 and 2014. So I don't know where people are catching these. I don't know if it used to be in Kanto and now it isn't. I don't know, but there isn't a catch location in Kanto now. So I put that at rarest Giga Rares just because I'm not even sure, but I have seen some. The Wobbuffet line, pretty rare. You would have had to beat the storyline and then, you know, unlock Cerulean Cave to actually, you know, get the Wobbuffet line to begin with. I've never seen a Why Not because you would have had to bread it down, but I have seen Wobbuffets, and I do have some Wobbuffets myself. They're pretty dang rare. Same thing with the Murkrow Mischievous. You would have had to unlock the Lost Cave and then caught them on in Lost Cave. Those are pretty rare. They are pretty expensive. I have seen some on the market for several mil, so I know that they're very sought after. The Ludicolo line, I have seen one in somebody's box, but I have not seen any other besides that ever listed. I did put the Natu and the Zatu line in Giga Rare, but I do personally have like 5 of them, but they were like from like 2014 to 2013. I've never seen a 2012, and I also have never seen any other listed besides the one I sniped, so I don't know how many are out there, so I put that at Giga Rare. The Weavile, you would have had to caught that in Icefall Cave. I've seen one of them in 2013, and that's it, so I put that at Giga Rare. Snorunt, same deal. There's actually no catch location in Kanto, I do not believe, so any, like the Galeo line, the, you know, Snorunt line, those are rare. Quillfish and Carvana, super rare as well. Yeah, I've only seen 1 Carvana from 2012, 2 Quillfish ever. Moving on, we have Blissey and Chansey. Those are in the Giga Rare category because you've had to catch them in the Safari Zone. However, there are a few of them out there just because people used to use lucky eggs for currency, so that, you know, there was more demand for to catch them, so therefore there was more options for it to be available. I have seen Chanseys. I have like 5 2013 Chanseys. They are pretty dang expensive to begin with. Jigglypuff and Wigglytuff, I've only ever seen one in a box I was buying. Swinub, I have a few of them from 2013, but they are pretty dang rare and hard to come by. You do not see those very often. I've seen 1 Yanma ever. That's pretty rare. The Ladybug line, never seen that ever. Dunsparce, I've only ever seen 1 and I own it. Same thing goes with the Delibird. I've only ever seen 1 and I own it. Hoppip, I have seen 1 in a box I was gonna buy, but they weren't comfortable parting with it just because there aren't really any, or if any of these out there. You would have had to get, you know, get these on the Sevi Islands. Same thing goes with the Azumarill line. I have never seen one of those ever. I may have seen 1, I'm pretty sure, but I'm not really sure. Spinarak, I've never seen one of those. Togepi, I've seen 2 of them ever, but they're pretty rare. I believe you would have to get it from the egg trade encounter back in the day. And then I have seen like a wild caught one on like the Sevi Islands, but there's no catch location, so I'm not really sure how that happened. Same thing with the Wooper line, you would have to go to the islands to get it, so it's pretty dang rare. The Electabuzz, Electivire, and Elekid line, I've never seen an Elekid, but I have seen an Electabuzz for 2012, so I've only ever seen one. Girafarig, I've only ever seen two, and I own them. Tentacruel and Tentacool, I'm pretty sure they're probably common or uncommon, but to be honest, I've only ever seen one listed ever in that line, so I put it in Giga Rare. I could be wrong about that one. Same with the coughing line, but I just genuinely have never seen people post them, so I don't know if maybe somebody's hoarding them, and there are a lot of them. I'm not sure. Like I said, I can't peer into people's boxes. I'm just going off of what I've noticed in the last like month or two. Tauros and Lickitung are both, you know, Kanto Safari Cottonmon. You need to go to the Safari to catch them, which is why they're super duper rare. You can get Lickitung in Cerulean Cave as well, but that's also like end game content you would have had to do to catch it, which makes it super rare. Ditto is a hot commodity. I've seen 2 or 3 Dittos, and I own 2 of the 3 that I've seen, and that's about it so far. They're pretty dang rare, and they also just have their own market by themselves because it's a Ditto. It's pretty cool. Moving on to the rare tier right below that, these are essentially, I've seen a few of them, but they're rarer than all of the commons and uncommons essentially. I'm not going to go into the nitty gritty details like I did with the Rarest and the Giga Rares because I don't want this video to take too long, but just essentially just know I have not seen that many of these, so anything in this, you know, section of the tier list are probably worth something. They're worth more than all the uncommons and commons pretty much. The uncommon tier right below there, I did put Lapras in there just because everybody who did the storyline got a Lapras from Silph, so they're a lot more common than you'd think they would be. And then the rest of these mon, I've just seen like a handful of them. They're pretty dang common, but not super common. The common line, one surprising thing there is Snorlax, just because everybody got it from the storyline. Everyone always caught it. There's a lot of them. I've seen a bunch of them. Everything in this tier, I've just seen like a ton of them. And that brings us down to the special cases tier. This tier is actually unique. I didn't want to, you know, put any of these specific mon into any of these tiers because they're special cases. They kind of have their own unique markets on their own. So let me explain each one of them real quick. The Farfetch'd and the Mr. Mime are both trade encounters. You would have to trade with somebody in Kanto to get them, and they have a base price of a lot. Like, they retain value because they're trade evolutions and they're rare in their own regard because of that. I have seen several of them, so there are you know, a handful of them, but they are never cheap like a common or an uncommon, if that makes sense. The Kanto starters are obviously rare because of clout. Keeping your starter from back then is like a, you know, a rare thing there. If you notice, like, you go to 2012 and you look up any of these starter lines, you'll most likely see the last Evo, and they are several million depending on the tier that they're in, 2012 being the most expensive, 2013 and so on. They kind of retain value. Like, even a 2016 Charizard would go for like 60k. They just kind of retain value because of what they are. Same goes with the Fossilmon. They're very rare in their own regard, and they kind of have their own price point. I have seen more Aerodactyls than the Kabuto and the Omastar line, but they have their own market and they're expensive in their own regard. Even though I've seen a few of them, they are more expensive than uncommons and commons. The Evolution line, pretty dang rare. I've only ever seen 5 EVs in 2013 and 2 Evolutions from 2013, and then that's it. And they kind of retain value because of clout as well, and also just because I believe it was like a trade thing that you could do back then. Houndoom and Spinda are both Altering Cavemon, and they kind of have their own markets as well. Houndour was the first Fire Dark type, so, you know, a lot of people have fond memories of it. It was an Altering Cave, so it's rare by itself. I have seen like 6 or 7 of them from 2012, so there is like a lot of them, which is why I didn't put them in Giga Rare, but they still retain value because they're Altering Cavemon. Spinda, obviously, if you put HA on it, it has a use even today, even if it is bad stats. So Spinda does, you know, have a huge market on its own. You know, I've seen 2013 Spindas go for millions, you know what I mean? Like, they kind of just retain value. Larvitar, it's kind of the same deal. It has its own market. Like, I've seen a bunch of 2013s posted, like 10 of them, but they base price at like 180k. Just because Larvitar, you would have to go on to the Sevi Islands to catch the Savalt Canyon area. And then the Jinx line is another trade evolution. It is rare just because it's a trade evolution. This tier list isn't meant to like give you the price of all of these, because obviously the market changes as time goes on. They're going to become more rare. There's going to become less of these in the game as people quit, accidentally breed them, what have you. So these are only going to go up in value, so it's impossible for me to give you a specific, like, this is how much this one's worth. This market should be this much, this much. But this tier list, this visualization will give you a good idea of like, hey, These at the very top are the rarest of the rares. These Giga rares are pretty dang rare. And then everything below that, they're relatively common. The special cases have their own market. They're expensive because of, their special case. And I figured this visualization would help you be able to determine the price of specific old mon that you might encounter or purchase on your own time. So I hope this was helpful. I hope this was informative in some regard. I put a lot of time into putting this together, several hours putting this tier list together. Also, I did, months of research. I'm a collector myself. I'll be showing off my own collections in my next video, but I kind of wanted to make this video as a precursor so, you could watch this and then have a better understanding of how rare some of my collections are, for example. But yeah, this has been Rocket. I hope you enjoyed the video. Leave a like if you enjoyed it, and smell you later.